Hello there and a very warm welcome to another edition of Channels Beam. I am Victor Matthias. Now, just days after the United States Department of Justice released details of 80 defendants, most of whom are Nigerians, that have been charged with conspiracy to commit fraud, money laundering, aggravated identity theft, and other charges, another list was released by Saudi authorities of 20 Nigerians awaiting execution for engaging in drug-related offenses. Now, this has put the country in bad light globally. However, it is worthy to note that despite the foregoing, there are Nigerians doing wonderful things across the globe, and that will be our focus on the program today. But before we begin, let's refresh your minds on the trending social media discussions and hashtags in the past week.
In the wake of recurring xenophobic attacks against Nigerians in South Africa, some Nigerians back home are staging a protest to register their displeasure over the issue. South African-owned businesses were targeted by protesters in several Nigerian cities. Nigerian Afro-pop singer David Adeleke, better known as Davido, is set to tie the knot with his girlfriend, Chioma Rowland. He shared photos of the introduction ceremony on his Instagram page.
Well, there you go. Those were the trends in the past week. But joining us to discuss the topic of the day, we have a senior editor with Opera News, Michael Abimboye. Thank you for joining us on the program today.
Victor.
We also have a Mandela Washington Fellow and MD of ACOB Lightings, Alex Obechina. It's a pleasure to have you here as well today. And also joining us from Banjul in the Gambia is Hamzat Lawal. He is the CEO of Follow the Money. Thanks as well for joining us today on the program, Hamzat.
Thank you for having me.
All right, great. I mean, it's good that you are following the money, and let's just begin on this note. I mean, there's been so much, talk about Nigerians abroad who were actually indicted by the FBI for committing some form of, fraudulent activities. I mean, that has put our country in the bad light. But I mean, it is what it is. But what is your take on that?
Well, I think that this should be a lesson for particularly young people out there who are engaged in shady activities. But I want to also state categorically that the 88 people do not represent the true values of Nigerians. 88 people cannot be used to judge over 160 million citizens, particularly young people who are resilient, who are striving and working hard to ensure that they paint this country, and when I say this country, our great country, Nigeria, on a positive limelight.
Fantastic. I'll come back to you in a bit, but guys, I mean, what do you see about this?
I mean, for me, you cannot judge Nigerians based on the 88 people or 77 people based on because they do fraud or something. Yeah. I mean, the other Nigerians doing great things across the world. I mean, recently there's a chief surgeon that was just recently appointed in US. That's Oluyinka Olutoye. So I mean, that's enough reason to say that Nigerians are not fraudsters. Yeah. And recently there was a thread on Twitter where US citizens were discussing about how Nigerians are hardworking, how they do extra shifts, how they do that extra work. So that's enough reason for them to know that Nigerians are not fraudsters. Yeah, it might be fraudsters, but if you check the global stats of internet fraudsters in the world, you find that Nigerians are not even the highest, or let's say the prominent internet fraudsters. So the only issue we have with Nigerian fraudsters is always that they are always the flamboyant style. They are the ones who will go to parties and spray money. So that gives them that feel that, oh,
it draws so much attention
to them. So I think that's just the only issue. But it's not yet that like I'm supporting fraud here, but at least when you compare the global stats and you know that, oh,
Nigeria
are not even on the top 10 or top 20 internet fraudsters across the world. So the US should take a cool down, not see us as a bad people. And they also the media persona should also do more by projecting Nigeria in positive light, like show more of the positive stories rather than the bad and negative ones. So that way we'll do well in the international
stage. Well, for Alex, I mean, you are a Mandela Washington Fellow, and I mean, which means, I mean, a couple of African leaders, you know, taken to the, I think the last batch was 1,000. I'm not pretty much sure. Was it 1,000 or 500? Yeah.
About 700.
Okay, 700. I mean, and I know Nigerians pretty much had a very good number. So, again, it brings to the fore the fact that Nigerians are actually doing great things. But I mean, you are the fellow. Share more light on that.
To be very frank, this news came to everybody as a very big shock. I would identify myself as a Nigerian who once lived in the diaspora and came back here. If there is something you cannot take away from the average Nigerian youth, is our very high sense of hard work, intellectual sagacity, intelligence, and our brilliance. And it's unfortunate that we find people who apply this in a very wrong way. The statistics, I think well over 3 million Nigerians are actually in the US, those who migrated and even those who were born. So looking at what my colleague said, that is not enough to judge a 200 million population, country where we have youths who are thriving, doing hard work out of their end. But again, does it have an impact? I say yes, because if you are involved in doing international business and global business, you will understand the impact of reputational, consequences on whatever you do. There are young Nigerians who are actually raising funds abroad now, whose investors will possibly have to look back and say, oh, this is coming. Irrespective of how many are affected, the fact is we have to rise above board, consistently ensure that we imbibe those values of sincerity, truth, and hard work, which we are known for. The Mandela Washington Fellowship, which I just came back from, is a very laudable initiative, which is actually sponsored by the US Department of State. I mean, it started with President Barack Obama, where about 1,000 youths actually come down to the United States, spend a couple of weeks on leadership training, capacity building, business networking, and all that. You understand it? And that has been sustained with Trump. I think about 700 were invited in the last batch. And it will interest you to know, every year since the advent of this program, Nigeria always comes up top. Nigeria had the highest number of country members delegates, which is about 56. 56 out of about 50 African countries that participate in that annually. I'm a young Nigerian. Am I a fraudster? I'm not a fraudster. Some of us are actually working very hard. And what this goes a long way to tell other young Nigerians who are doing well is never give up. Keep channeling that positive energy, that vibes into productive use of whatever you're doing. And you get value for what you're doing, sincerely. But for the reputation, I think with time, it will take time to fizzle. But of course, does it have an impact? I will tell you yes. If you involve in international business, you will know the extent of what I'm saying.
Let me bring back Hamzat, who is in Banjul. Hamzat, it now happens that you are even an instructor for Yali. Alex is a fellow. But so when we agree, one thing that all of you have agreed is that these 77 people should not be used to judge a 200 million population of a country. But so if you're talking about people that are doing great things, who can you pinpoint, so to speak, now? Nigerians. Michael actually made mention of a doctor who was appointed as a chief surgeon in an American hospital. But who else can we actually pinpoint or mention to say that, okay, this is a Nigerian doing great stuff in the diaspora, I beg your pardon, and it's been celebrated?
See, for me, I can go on, and I can even give you over 100 names off heart. But I want to start with the young man who was recently appointed to the Obama Foundation as the chief executive. Let me also start with Papilo. We all know him as Papilo, who was part of the Champions League and won UFA Cup as he contributed to that match. Wizkid Dio has taken our music not just to the African continent, but the world at large. So Audu Mekori, a Nigerian lawyer and entrepreneur, a social activist, public speaker, who have contributed to the creative industry as a professional. Look at Agbani Darego, a Nigerian who is the first Native African to win the Miss World title. Do you want to talk about Professor Wole Soyinka, the global renowned literature icon? I would even mention myself. I just won the United Nations Award on Sustainable Development Goal. Look at J.J. Okocha, who has taken Nigeria from here to the world and have played for different professional leagues. Mr. Adebayo Ogulese, who is the chairman and managing partner of GIP. In 2016, he bought London City Airport. In 2019, GIP, his company, acquires London Gatesville Airport. These are Nigerians striving, in other climes.
Yeah. Again, congratulations. I'd say congratulations to your UN award. We didn't really celebrate that, but again, we celebrate you and we see you as that person who would, shine that light for the young generation to follow Hamzat. But I mean, so he's gone on and on, to make mention of, all these people. But how do we put them on that spotlight? How would they inspire, people coming up so that they can, step into those shoes, eventually when maybe they're not around again?
Sincerely, it's actually about, there's something I also noticed here in Nigeria, which to a large extent we don't play so much, we don't put so much emphasis on it, is the impact of mentorship. As a leader, it goes, you cannot actually estimate the values you'll be giving out by mentoring people. It's not about being proud of what you've achieved. We constantly, even in my entrepreneurial journey, I still find people I find as role model. And you try as much as possible to consistently learn and leverage on their success stories and how well. And the spirit of giving back, for those who are successful, let's see how well some are doing it through foundations, see how well we can actually get a whole lot of young people to start inculcating these values from school. Because we're in a technology age. Yeah. And most of the crimes that we're talking about are cyber crimes. There are things that we continue to come up again. But once we have the right values from school coming up and also family values, people, I want to believe that some of these things we can actually overcome them gradually.
Well, Michael, so he's talking about mentorship. I mean, you didn't just find yourself in journalism, doing what you're doing, but, what was it that, motivated you to not go the other way, but, choose the right path, choose an honorable path, earn an income and live within your income? What inspired you and how are you giving back to the community in the first place?
Well, giving back to the community, I make sure, when there's an opportunity for job opportunity around in any media organization, I make sure that people I know who are upcoming, who are doing well, I reach out to them and plead whoever is recruiting, give this person an opportunity. And so far, so good. They've not let me down. The people have put on jobs, they've gone ahead to do well. And so I think that's for. And also for me, why I decided not to do fraud or anything, because I just felt, wow, I still have time. I'm just early 30s, so why should I be in a rush to make billions or in this time of my life? So why should I be in a rush? So that's for me one of the reasons. Then I've looked at my projection from secondary school to university. I've not really done anything. So that's for me why I can do more in terms of studying more, going back to school. So that's basically how I've been able to stay away from crime or stay away from fraud. There always peer pressure where you have your friends who flaunt well, but take your eyes off it. Look at the positive side. There are people who are doing menial jobs and live and feel. I think the key word is contentment. Most Nigerians are not content. You want to have more than you can at a particular stage in time. Why should I now be looking for 5 cars or 4 cars? 1 car is enough for me right now. So I think then again, our religious outfits should start preaching more of contentment. You go to churches and you're hearing talk about how to achieve billions. No, teach people how to be contented with whatever they have, whatever they earn. Don't come to church and start telling them how to donate to churches. I'm not in the school, but inculcate good societal morals and values into them. So that way we'll be able to take Nigeria away from the crime scene per se. Although I know it's not going to be one day or 1 year or 2, but over time we'll get there and crime will reduce across Nigeria.
Well, I really hope that happens, but just hold your thoughts for a second. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back in a moment to continue with this discussion. Please stay with us.